masterclass, take a seat. It's time to soar. Where rivers of success meet, let's unlock the door. Blueprints laid down, we're creating something grand. In Eden they started, now it's our turn to stand. Four rivers flow, a vision crystal clear. With faith in our hearts, we've got no fear. Success streams flowing, lifting us high. With the master's guidance, we're touching the sky. Building our dreams with a powerful team. In this business life, we're living the dream. Rejecting that slow grind. 40 years wasted, leave that behind. Unless the Lord builds, it's all in vain. Divine designs, we're breaking the chains. Biblical blueprints, success is blessed. Let's rise up together, we'll never rest. Success streams flowing, lifting us high. With the master's guidance, we're touching the sky. Building our dreams with a powerful team. In this business life, we're living the dream. So here's to the journey, we're set to take flight. With faith as our armor, we're ready to fight. Welcome to the masterclass, take a seat, it's time to soar. Where rivers of success meet, let's unlock the door. Blueprints laid down, we're creating something grand. In Eden they started, now it's our turn to stand. Four rivers flow, a vision crystal clear. With faith in our hearts, we've got no fear. Success streams flowing, lifting us high. With the master's guide.
Hey Kingdom family, greetings, blessings, salutations, and welcome to another Kingdom Conversation with me, your host, Bishop Wayne Malcolm, the Business Bishop. Always excited and delighted to be a part of your life and legacy through this ministry. I'm celebrating everyone that's joining us live, and I salute everyone that is the replay. I want to thank everyone who has subscribed to the channel. Believe it or not, the vast majority of people who view our content and even enjoy our content have not yet subscribed to the channel. If that's you, please go ahead and hit the subscribe button. And I want to thank everyone who likes the posts and who leaves a comment. The comments are a blessing to me. And they are a blessing to our mission. They're a blessing to me because they remind me that I'm in the right place at the right time, doing the right things for the right people. And they're a blessing to our mission because by simply subscribing, liking, and leaving a comment, you are making our channel and our content more findable by people like you who are looking for content like this. So if you really want to be a part of our mission, please go ahead, subscribe, like, comment, and of course, grab the link and share it with your family, friends, neighbors, and networks. I want to thank everyone that's joining us live, and I want to encourage you to utilize the chat box as your virtual voice. If we say anything that resonates with you deeply, or that constitutes a light bulb moment for you, an elevation in your understanding, or a paradigm shift, I want you to light up that chat box with fire emojis, heart emojis, hand clapping emojis, or just shout your amen in the chat box. Woo! All right, I am super excited about today's presentation. Today's presentation is a sobering one, and every now and again we need a sobering presentation to wake us out of slumber, to wake us out of sleep, because of course your dreams will come to pass if you don't sleep too long. Every now and again, the Lord sounds the alarm in Zion, and that alarm is designed to wake us up. So perhaps today is a little bit of a sobering thought. I want to talk about why things may never change for you. And I am, of course, hoping that things change for you. I am convinced that if you are part of this presentation and if you stick with me to the end, I am convinced that things will change for you. But there are so many people who want change, who are praying for change, longing for change, hoping for change, who are never going to experience that change. And I want to explain why change may never happen for you. We're going to kick off with some context for the concept. And then I'm going to talk about what needs to change, what exactly needs to change. And then we're going to dive deep into the parable of the sower and the seed. I'm going to extract some revelation, some kingdom principles and spiritual laws from the parable of the sower and the seed. We're going to look at the season of breaking and why it is that not all experience a 100-fold return. We'll talk about the psychology of real change, what it really takes to change. And then we will conclude. If you're excited and know that you're in the right place at the right time, light up the chat box, leave a comment, and let's dive right in with some context for the concept. So here it is. Most people want a change, but they don't want to change. Oh, help me now. I think I'm going to need some sound effects. Like, most people want a change, but they don't want to change. And there is a fundamental difference between wanting a change and wanting to change. So a lot of people want a change in terms of their circumstances, in terms of their opportunities, in terms of their environment, in terms of their income, in terms of their health, in terms of their happiness, in terms of their impact. They're just wanting a change. And they're looking out at the world and they're looking out at their circumstances and they're saying, I don't like this. This hurts. I want change. And some will even go as far as praying that God will change those things, right? And I guess if we were brutally honest, I think we've all been there, just sitting and waiting and hoping for things to change. In some cases, things have become pretty desperate. They've become pretty painful. They're spiraling out of control. And we can feel ourselves drowning or sinking in a sea of situations that are unpleasant, undesirable, and unnecessary. And what we want is for those things to change. But whereas so many people want a change, there are few people that want to change. And of course, wanting to change means that I realize that I could be a better version of me. I realize that I am more than I am manifesting. I am realizing that in essence, I am so much greater than what I am exhibiting. And what I really want to do is become all that I can be so I can do all that I was designed and destined to do, so I can have everything that God promised to me. I wish I had some help in here. Let's check this sound effect. Yeah, there we go. So most people desire change, better outcomes, improved circumstances, new opportunities, but they resist the one thing that guarantees it. So there's actually one thing that guarantees circumstantial change, and that is personal transformation or psychological change. Okay? So I guess what we know from teachings of the scriptures and from the wisdom of anyone who achieved mastery at anything is that our circumstances are reflecting our own psychology, okay? That life is actually showing us what's going on the inside of us. And I know that there may be seeming exceptions to the rule. in that you can be thrust into a situation unexpectedly that doesn't reflect who you are on the inside, right? You're thrust into a circumstance, a situation that is not really reflecting who you are on the inside. And that happens. That's true. However, because of who you are on the inside, that circumstance cannot hold you too long. And because of who you are on the inside, you are going to fundamentally rise above that circumstance. And that is why there is such a difference between having $1 million and being a millionaire. Woo! I wish I had some help in here. There is a difference between having $1 million and being a millionaire. So a lot of people who have $1 million, perhaps you inherited $1 million, perhaps someone gave you $1 million, perhaps you borrowed $1 million, perhaps you stole $1 million, right? That doesn't make you a millionaire, right? You're only really a millionaire when, in fact, that $1 million is the fruit of your own wisdom root. In other words, it was generated by your ideas, your initiatives, your venture, your focus, your attitude. If that million was generated by your magnificent mindset and your brilliant brain, then you are a millionaire. And what we see is that when you are a millionaire, even if you are thrust into economic hardship, you lose the million. Something goes terribly wrong and you no longer have that million. It's a matter of time before you make the millions again, right? Because the true millionaire is you. The true asset is you. And so the only thing that actually guarantees circumstantial change, lasting, sustainable circumstantial change, is your own personal transformation, is the person that you are. And so there are a lot of people who are working on things, but not working on themselves. You're working so hard on things to make things better, but you're not prioritizing who you could be, right? You're not committed to personal development, personal transformation, psychological reformation. You're not really putting new things into your mind. You're not really consuming spiritual, creative, and productive nutritions that are going to make you a phenomenal individual who can bounce back from anything. So, there's some people, you get to the end of an old year and you're at the threshold of a new year and start making resolutions, right? And you say, okay, look, I resolve that I'm going to lose weight. I'm going to save money. I'm going to invest money. I'm going to build and scale my business. I'm going to spend more quality time with my loved ones. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do the other. And what happens is you get into January, in the first 2 weeks of January, you're keeping it up. And then as we get to the end of January, the whole thing crumbles and dismantles and goes back to status quo. So that every year, you don't even have to write new resolutions. You can just take the old ones from the year before, and they're still applicable because the goals have still not been achieved. The outcomes have still not been experienced, and you're basically in the same place. Now, why is that? The reason is that the only way to guarantee a great new year is to focus entirely on becoming a new person in that new year, going to work on yourself and working harder on yourself than you do on your circumstances. People who experience lasting change work harder on themselves than they do on their circumstances, because as you work hard on yourself, you are going to be raising your altitude through a new attitude. You are going to be armed with a much more extensive knowledge base and bank. You are going to have infinitely more effective tools at your disposal and skills at your disposal. And so that whatever was a challenge to you in the last year is going to be just a stroll in the park in the new year because of the size of the person that you have become. I wish I had some help in here. So What exactly needs to change? Now, if you ask the immature, the unenlightened, or the person that is ignorant of spiritual laws and kingdom principles, what needs to change, they will talk about circumstances. They'll talk about the job, they'll talk about the business, they'll talk about their staff, they'll talk about the team, they'll talk about the shareholders, they'll talk about the investors, they'll talk about the market, they'll talk about the government, they'll talk about the economy, they'll talk about society, they'll talk about their neighbors, they'll talk about their wife, their husband, their children. They'll talk about things, right? But the enlightened, who actually understand spiritual laws, kingdom mysteries, and the real principles that produce outstanding results, they're going to understand that what fundamentally needs to change is me. That's what needs to change. Because a new me is going to create new circumstances. A new me is going to stand up to old, unacceptable circumstances and demolish or defeat or dismantle them. A new me is going to create a new environment. A new me is going to create a better quality of life. So what is it that needs to actually change? Well, first of all, it's mindset. It's mindset that needs to change. See, the immature and unenlightened think the same, but want new results, right? In other words, they have the same attitude, but want a new altitude. And I guess one of the definitions for insanity is doing the same thing over and over again while expecting a different result. Like, if you don't cultivate a new attitude, you're certainly not going to experience a new altitude, because it's your attitude that determines your altitude. So if you have a positive mental attitude, and this means that you can see opportunity in a crisis, it means you believe that all things are working together for your good. It means that you have a positive outlook. You are expectant and hopeful, energetic and enthusiastic. You are looking at the future as a spiritual adventure, and you believe that you can be, do, and have everything you were designed and destined to be, do, and have. That is a very positive, powerful, and ultimately unstoppable mental attitude. But if you are negative, if you are suffering from a victim's mentality or an entitlement syndrome, and you feel as though the world owes you and people owe you, and that you are where you are because people haven't let you get where you want to go, that is a rotten attitude. It's an attitude that is proven to keep people living below their privilege. It's an attitude that is proven to prevent you from even seeing, noticing, recognizing, or appreciating the way that leads to abundance and prosperity and more. And it keeps you incarcerated because if someone else is to blame for where you are, there's nothing you can do about it. But if you take responsibility for where you are, then there's something that you can do about it. In psychology, it's referred to as the locus of control. The locus of control. And what they've noted is that, people who are making no progress, they're not experiencing any upward mobility, they're not moving up the social economic scale. They typically have an external locus of control, external location of control. In other words, they believe that things beyond their own control are determining how far they go, how fast they go, how high they go, how much they can make. And so they're playing the blame game and often become quite bitter and resentful towards society, towards systems and structures, and because their locus of control is external. On the other hand, people who go from zero to hero, people who bounce back from setbacks, they have an internal locus of control. They believe that if it's going to be, it's up to me to make the right decisions, the right choices, to feed myself with the right information, to take the right actions in the right sequence, to persevere, to focus, and to keep on keeping on. And if I do this, I can change my circumstance. I can improve my quality of life. I can improve my opportunities and outcomes in life. And so what needs to change is that mindset, right? We need to lose the victim's mentality. We need to cultivate an unstoppable attitude so we can begin to experience a higher altitude. Well, that's not all that needs to change. Skill set needs to change, right? So there are people that expect greater doors to open with the same old tools. Like, you're trying to step into new things using the old tools, whereas those old tools have failed you repeatedly over and over again. The key here is to say, look, if I'm going to open some new doors, if I'm going to step into some new arenas, I'm going to need some new skills. I'm going to need to know how to do things that I currently don't know how to do. And if I'm going to learn how to do new things, I'm going to have to create time for learning. I guess one of the most important things we learn from physics, right, is something called the time-space continuum. The time-space continuum, which simply means that actually matter cannot exist outside of time and space, right? So that if matter came into existence, time and space came into existence at the exact same time, because matter cannot exist outside of time and space. Because for matter to exist, it needs to exist somewhere. And for matter to exist, it needs to exist at some time. So in order for matter to exist, you need time and space. And guess what? In order for your skill set to be upgraded, you're going to have to make time and space for that, right? You're going to make time, because people don't, acquire new skills accidentally or incidentally. You acquire new skills intentionally by creating time and space for that, becoming hungry and willing to learn something new, something you couldn't do before. Your new life is asking you to learn how to do it and how to do it well. And then, of course, what needs to change is the tool set, right? So we're still using outdated methods and expecting updated outcomes. Wow and wow. That one needs a sound effect. We're using outdated methods, but we are expecting updated outcomes. So whether we realize it or not, we are in the digital revolution. We're in the digital age. Some people think of this as a fifth industrial revolution, in which AI and alternative realities and augmented realities and virtual realities have become a part of our language, a part of our business, a part of our ministries, a part of our lives. We're in this digital age. And in the digital age, speed is a premium. And it means that we can get things done much faster than in any generation preceding us. We have more access to more information than any generation in the history of the world. And we have that access to that information literally on our mobile phones. And there are more mobile phones on the planet than there are people, because there are people that have 2 mobile phones. And if you go to a developing country, you're going to find virtually everyone in the developing country has a mobile phone. But what that's done is it's given us access to the greatest library of information ever assembled in the history of the world. And it means that ignorance is no longer an excuse. Like you can't claim ignorance. You can't say, well, I didn't know how to do it. I didn't know it needed to be done. I didn't know how to do it. Because, I can still remember a day when if I wanted to know something, I had to go to the bookstore and I had to buy books and I had to buy reference books and I had to look it up and I had to try to figure it out, reading several books to get the information. And today, virtually any book and every book that I've had in my library is available, sometimes in audio format, sometimes in PDF format, sometimes there's a YouTube channel just reading the book to you while you go to sleep. We don't have excuses when it comes to uh, being behind, right? So we can't be using outdated methods expecting updated outcomes. And then the final thing that really needs to change, and perhaps the most important thing that needs to change, is your own self-image. Your own self-image. I think I'm going to give a round of applause. Your self-image needs to change. Because there is a fundamental law, it's a spiritual law, and it's a kingdom principle that basically says this. We're going to get into it in a minute. That you do not get what you want in life, you actually get what you are in life. And you will never rise above your self-image. You are never going to sustain any success that's incompatible with your opinion of yourself. So very often before God brings new things into a person's life, he will radically transform the way they see themselves. Now, in the scriptures, you'll see it this way. God gave them a new name, right? God changed Abram's name from Abram to Abraham. Why? Because what you call yourself is how you see yourself, what you think of yourself. It's how you describe yourself and how you present yourself. Your name is your self-image. It is your self-concept. And it represents your level of self-esteem, self-respect, your standards, purpose. Everything is wrapped up in how you see you. So if you don't really see yourself as rich and as a leader, as influential, as successful in the four, on all four levels. So when I talk about success, I think about life, lifestyle, leadership, and legacy. Life, lifestyle, leadership, and legacy. If you don't see yourself successful in life, living a successful lifestyle with a successful leadership, either of a commercial enterprise, a business, a ministry, a social enterprise, an initiative, civic life, if you don't see yourself as a successful leader and you don't see yourself leaving a legacy, making a mark, and having your signature on a page in history, if you don't see yourself there, then you're always going to sabotage, literally self-sabotage, any opportunity that life presents to you or that God gives to you to realize that, because it's incompatible with how you see yourself. So when it comes to what actually needs to change, I need to change my vision of me, my concept of me, my opinion of me, my beliefs about me. I need to change my mindset because a new altitude is going to require a new attitude. I need to change my skill set because there's things I'm going to need to know how to do on that level that I don't currently know how to do. I'm going to have to become a student and learn how to do new things and how to get new results. And I'm going to need to change my tool set so I'm not using outdated methods while expecting updated results. I wish I had some help in here. So here is that spiritual law, a kingdom principle, a universal fundamental, as follows. You don't get what you want in life, you get what you are. Okay? And this means that you must become the internal equivalent of the things you desire. So this means that whatever it is you want on the outside, you have to become that on the inside. You have to become the person, the picture success. So when you think about success, there's a picture, right? And maybe when you think, you might envisage a family, you might envisage a house, a nice house, a suitable house in a nice neighborhood. You might envisage a business, maybe an office, maybe staff, maybe a team. You may envisage certain luxuries and you may envisage a certain lifestyle. You may envisage the freedom to recreate and vacate where you want, when you want, for as long as you want. You may envisage an influential role, making a difference is for people that are praying for something different. You may see this picture. The key is that you must become the person who fits the picture, the person who belongs in the picture, the person who suits the picture. Because the person you are right now is going to need to upgrade on so many levels to even fit in that picture. So this is the spiritual principle, right? The order of success, the biblical order of success is be, do, have. If you do, have. I wish I had some help in here. Someone needs to be screaming that. Be, do, have. What does be, do, have mean? It means that you should prioritize being over doing. That if you can become the person who can do the work, then you can have the benefit. So that your priority is who you are becoming in life, not what you are getting out of life. Because if you can become the better, you will do better and you will have better. So, of course, King Solomon understood this. You know, when God gave him a blank check and said, what do you want? I'll give you anything that you want. He didn't ask for money. He didn't ask for gold. He didn't ask for riches. He didn't ask for power over his enemies. He didn't even ask for long life and health. He didn't ask for it. He asked for wisdom and understanding and knowledge so he could be an awesome leader. He prioritized his being over his doing and over his getting. Because the formula is be, do, have. It's not have so you can do so you can be. It's not do so you can have so you can be. It's be so you can do so you can have. Your priority has to be, what am I becoming? What am I becoming? And that needs to be more important to you than what you are getting. Because sometimes what you're getting is actually preventing you from becoming all that you could be. All right? So don't ask me how I know this. Don't ask me how I know this. But you can get a lot of pleasure eating junk food, right? But you will not like what you are becoming as a result of it. At the same time, you get pain from going to the gym. But you will like what you're becoming as a result of it. And people who prioritize what they're getting over what they're becoming end up losing significantly in life, and the change they want keeps on evading them, eluding them, escaping them, and running over them because they have not prioritized who they should become. Okay, so now let's dive into some scripture. All right, some scripture to illustrate the points that we've made. I want to talk about the parable of the sower as described in Luke 8, 5 to 15, and also in Matthew 13. A sower went out to sow his seed. Now, in the story, some fell by the wayside, some fell among stones, some fell among thorns, and some fell on good ground. Now, of course, I used to think that these different types of ground simply represented different types of hearer, different types of people. Some people, when you try to give them the truth, try to give them the gospel, the good news, perhaps you're presenting a way, a strategy, perhaps you're a coach, a teacher, a trainer, and you are giving good seed, right? Good seed. Messages, ideas, concepts, principles, strategies that have the potential to bring about lasting transformation in a person's life, have the potential to significantly upgrade the quality of their life. And yet there are some people that it falls by the wayside. Okay, it just doesn't take root. They forget it as soon as they hear it. And there are other people that message falls on stony ground. And then there are some other people where it is choked by thorns. The cares of this life, the deceitfulness of riches choke that seed so that it is unable to grow roots, it's unable to bear fruit. But the truth of the matter is that that these types of soil actually describe seasons in all of our lives. Like there's a season in your life where actually you can't concentrate on meaningful things. And so if meaningful things are given to you, it falls by the wayside and you forget it. There are seasons in your life when, the soil is stony, so that whatever is sown, whatever good thing is sown into your life, it's just unable to take root. And then there are seasons in our lives where it's very thorny. And so that's why, someone can reject something this year and receive it next year. There are things that you have received now that are changing your life that if you had met me 5 years ago, just wouldn't have been the right time for you because you simply wasn't in that season. So rather than us thinking about the wayside, the stones, and the thorns as different people, let's think about them as us, because there are seasons in our lives when the soil is not good. The message here is that the seed is always good. The seed is always good, but the heart is not always ready. The heart is not always ready. I need to say that again. The seed is always good, but the heart is not always ready. This means that you have to be ready for revelation. I wish I had some help in here. You literally have to be ready to receive revelation knowledge. And I want to talk about that for just a moment. So I've written here that Jesus gave us a divine diagnostic tool in the parable of the sower. It reveals that the same seed, the message, the opportunity, the truth, the wisdom, the coaching, the strategy, produces different results based solely on the state of the soil, or based solely on the state of the hearer. The seed is good, and it is always good, but it yields different results because of where people are when they hear it. So this means you need to be in the right place at the right time to receive a word from God. It means that there has to be some preparation that goes into the process so that you are actually ready to receive revelation. It's not that we don't have revelation. It's not that we don't have truth. It's not that we don't have great ideas and strategies and principles. Actually, there are so many principles, strategies, tools, systems that are available to this generation. But why does it not connect and grow gravitropically to grow roots, and so it can grow phototropically to bear fruits? Why does it not happen? It doesn't happen because of where we are, the state we are in when we receive that word. Now, I want to be very clear. There's something we can do about that, and there's something we should do about that. And is there anybody here that's ready to do something about that? Because you've already said, look, if God's going to give me revelation, if God's going to give me a strategy, if God's going to give me a system that will transform my life, that is going to elevate, update, and upgrade my quality of life, my experience in life, my impact on life, my life, lifestyle, leadership, and legacy, if God's going to give that to me, then I need to be ready when that word comes. I do not need to be the one that God gives me the answers to my own prayers and it falls by the wayside. I don't want to be the person that God gives me the answers to my own prayers and it falls among stones. I don't want to be the person that God gives me the answer to the things I've been praying for, the things I want to change, the things I want to see different, and it falls among thorns. I want to be ready when the strategy arrives. I want to be ready for the revelation. Can I hear an amen from somebody? So the four soils actually represent stages of readiness. Stages of readiness. How ready are you for the revelation that transforms your life? Because if your life is going to change, it is because you are going to change, and what's going to change you is revelation. And if And if I'm not ready when revelation comes, then I'm still out here wanting things to change, but things never do change because revelation hasn't changed me. I wish I had some help in here. So, the 4 stages of readiness. First is the wayside. And that's where the heart is hard, there's no understanding, and the word is snatched away quickly. In other words, truth is not important to you right now. Revelation isn't important to you. Principles are not important to you. Knowledge is not important to you. Understanding is not important to you. So even when you receive it, it literally doesn't land with you and it's snatched away. And that is very sad, because if God is going to change your life, and if you're going to change your life, it will be as a result of new ideas, new knowledge, new skills, new identity, new things going on in your mind. It's a new psychology that is going to generate new circumstances. The Bible says it this way: be transformed by the renewing of your mind. But if you are in a season where your heart is hard, and you don't really care about knowing things and understanding things, and principles don't really matter to you, then you'll quickly forget whatever you hear. The birds will come and snatch it away. That's a stage of readiness. And the reality is that in that state, you're simply not ready for revelation. The stony ground represents shallowness. Okay? So you initially are glad to hear what you heard, but you're not going to implement anything, right? And so we meet a lot of people who are seminar junkies. We meet a lot of people that are YouTube addicted, and you are ever learning, but never able to come to the knowledge of the truth, because new information excites you, but not to the place of implementation, not to the place of contemplation about how I might implement this, not to the place of actually growing roots. So it's falling on shallow ground. And that is a state or a stage of readiness that says you're not ready for revelation. Number 3 is the thorny ground, which is where the seed or the strategy or the system is choked by cares, by the cares of this world, right? So in other words, you have other priorities. Your priorities are fundamentally material. And this is really what makes you materialistic, is that actually material things are more important to you than spiritual things. That was the difference between Esau and Jacob, right? The difference between Esau and Jacob is that Jacob valued spiritual things like the birthright, and Esau valued material things like a bowl of soup. So he sold his birthright for a bowl of soup. And a lot of people are selling their birthright for bowls of soup. So you're still out here chasing the money, chasing the gold, chasing the fame, chasing the popularity. You're chasing the things. Whereas Solomon, who was the richest man who ever lived, never chased gold. Guess what? The gold chased him. Jesus taught that if you seek first the kingdom, prioritize the kingdom and his righteousness, God's way of doing things, God's systems, you prioritize the kingdom and God's systems, guess what? You don't have to chase things. Things start chasing you, because your mind becomes a magnet for all of these things. Your life becomes attractive to all of these things. You literally, these things begin to chase you down. Is there anyone here that is tired of chasing the gold and you would like for the gold to start chasing you? I wish I had some help in here. That is very possible if the revelation takes root in your life. But you have to be ready for revelation to take root in your life. You have to be ready for revelation to take root in your life, which is why God will bring us through seasons of breaking. And that season of breaking is designed to break up the fallow ground and to make you ready for the revelation. Now, if I had time, which I don't, I could really do an entire session on the season of breaking and readiness for your revelation. Hosea 10 verse 12 says, break up your fallow ground, for it is time to seek the Lord. Break up your fallow ground. What is fallow ground? It is the unplowed and unused land. In other words, because the land has not been plowed and the soil has not been disturbed and disrupted, if you throw seed on it, the seed is not going to take root. So the land is not ready to be sown. And so what a farmer had to do was break up the fallow ground to make it ready for the seed. And every now and again in life, we go through this breaking season where God is simply breaking up this unplowed and unused land so that we can be ready for the revelation. Because outside of the season of breaking, we're not ready for revelation. Let me give you an example of this. This is going to be a quick one. We learn in the last chapters of Genesis and the first chapters of Exodus that as a result of Joseph's outstanding service to Egypt, Joseph's people became a privileged class in Egypt. And they were landowners, they were homeowners, their families were growing exponentially, and they were a privileged class, they were a wealthy class, they lived very well in Egypt. But of course, Egypt was process, it was not the promise. God's intent was always to plant them in the land of promise. And so what we saw happen in the early chapters of Exodus is that a new Pharaoh arose who didn't know Joseph and didn't trust his people. And he began to wage war on the house of Israel that were living a privileged life in Egypt. He confiscated their goods, their houses, drove them into camps, and made them into slaves. Now, while they were slaves, they began crying to God. They cried to the Lord. They cried bitter tears to God. While they were slaves, they remembered the promises God made to them. They remembered that Egypt was never their destiny. It was never their final destination. Their comfort zone was disrupted. And now, in the disruption and in the discomfort and in the and all of the chaos and confusion, Moses comes along with the word of the Lord to say that God will bring you out of here. God will bring you out of this place to a land that flows with milk and honey, to the land which he swore to your fathers, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, to give them. And it was at that point that the children of Israel said, okay, Moses, we're going to follow you. Could you imagine what would have happened if Moses would have come too early? Like if Moses would have come to them preaching about a promised land on the other side of a wilderness, on the other side of a Red Sea, on the other side of a wilderness, preaching about a promised land while they were living their best life in Egypt. They wouldn't have received him. They would have rejected him. They were not ready for revelation. So all of the discomfort and all of the distress and all of the devastation that reduced them from a privileged class to a slave class was the breaking season, the breaking up of fallow ground so that they would be ready for the revelation. And sometimes there are things God wants to say to you, you're just not ready to hear it until you go through a season of breaking. Now, in terms of modern application of the fallow ground, right? It's when you're in a place where you are resistant to feedback. You know, resistant to feedback. You know, some people get highly offended if you give them any feedback, right? You need a season of breaking so you can be ready for revelation. Some people are emotionally numb, okay? That fallow ground needs to be broken up. Some people have committed to things that they are not aligned with. And now they're financially invested in things and emotionally invested in things and physically invested in things that they're not aligned to. That's not your place of purpose or field of favor. And so you're going to hold on to it. You're going to hold on to the past no matter what the future promises. That fallow ground needs to be broken up. There are people who are still playing the blame game and surrounding themselves, justifying themselves with excuses. So long as you have excuses and you're playing the blame game, your fallow ground needs to be broken up. You're not ready for revelation. And then there's cynicism from past disappointments. So some people literally have become cynical, so cynical that a new opportunity cannot take root in their life. The ground is fallow. It needs to be broken up, because transformation only comes when you allow the hard places to be broken. Transformation only comes when you allow revelation to take root in your life. And that's going to mean losing your resistance to feedback, overcoming the emotional numbness, letting go of things that you thought were going to be forever. Stop playing the blame game and justifying your life with excuses, and realize that where you start in life is not as important as where you finish in life. Cynicism from past disappointments must not be allowed to block your future of greatness. And so Hebrews 12:11 says, no discipline seems pleasant at the time. Later it produces a harvest of righteousness. When you're going through that season of breaking, it's not pleasant at the time. But what it allows is it puts you in a place where you're ready to receive the revelation that will genuinely change your life. So why is it that people get different results from the same teaching, different results from the same coaching, different results from the same message? Okay? It is because of your state of readiness. It's your state of readiness. So perhaps what we need to do, right, is break up the fallow ground and come to a place where we say, God, I am ready for instruction. I am ready for direction. I am ready for counsel. I am ready for wisdom. I am ready for knowledge. I am ready for you to speak to me. Here am I, Lord. Speak to me and show me where from here. I'm going to close with how you can prepare for this, right? So number one, get honest about your own resistance. Get honest about it, right? Where have you been unwilling to change? What part of your life have you been unwilling to change? Number two, identify your current soil season. Am I hardened? Am I shallow? Am I distracted? Or am I ready? Okay? Because once you can look in the mirror and be honest and say, right now I'm hardened, so we're going to break that up. Right now, it's shallow. We're going to break that up. Right now, I'm very distracted. We're going to break that up because I need to be ready. And number three is create margin for transformation. Make room in your life and mind for what you're asking for. Number four, submit to the breaking process. Trust the uncomfortable because it's often preparation. What I mean is that every miracle that is available to you will only ever happen outside the comfort zone, right? You have to leave the comfort zone in order to experience supernatural supply. You have to leave the comfort zone in order to experience divine intervention. You have to leave the comfort zone in order to find your place of purpose. You have to leave the comfort zone in order to migrate towards a field of favor. I mean, look at Abraham's story. First thing God says to Abraham is get up and get out of your comfort zone and go somewhere that I'll show you after you go. I'm not even going to show you before you go. I'll show you after you go. In other words, leave the comfort zone, and then I'm going to take you to the victory zone. Because the victory zone, the miracle zone, the success zone, the profit zone, the prosperity zone, the posterity zone, the leadership and legacy zone is always outside the comfort zone. So trust the uncomfortable. And number five, commit to becoming that good ground. The change you want is waiting for the person that you are becoming. So I conclude, the seed is good. Seed is always good. The soil must be transformed. Change isn't about outcomes, it's about you. Break the ground, receive the word, and bring forth fruit. That, my friends, is why things may never change for some people. But they'll change for you if you prioritize your own change. Too many people want things to change, but they do not want to change. And I guess the challenge for us today is to make ourselves ready for change, willing to change. Okay? And listen, before you leave, I have a system. I literally have a system. I've developed a system that enables people to experience meaningful transformation, change. I'm talking about the new mind, the new attitude, the new altitude, the new perspectives, the newness of life, right? We've put together a system that allows you to experience transformation. And I want you to watch this ad because it will tell you about the system. The system's open now, and perhaps it's your time to get radical, right? Because breaking up this fallow ground thing, probably not going to happen accidentally over time. You accidentally over time, the ground gets harder and harder. You have to be very intentional about breaking into some things, literally breaking into some things in order to make yourself ready to receive what God has for you. And this program does exactly that. So don't go before you watch these ads, and I'll see you in the next Kingdom Conversation. This is Bishop Wayne Malcolm, the Business Bishop, bidding you Godspeed, peace out, and shalom. Let me ask you a question. What is it costing you to not understand the mysteries of the kingdom? What part of your life is being destroyed for lack of knowledge? Is it your peace, your progress, your prosperity, or your posterity? How much time have you lost? How many false starts? How many prayers unanswered? Not because God didn't hear you, but because you didn't yet understand the system He designed to release you. The truth is, most believers are not stuck because of sin or lack of faith. They're stuck because they've never been trained in kingdom principles, kingdom philosophy, and kingdom systems. That's why I created the Kingdom MBA 40-day challenge. Of course, you could do the full Kingdom MBA in a year, but thanks to this program, you can experience the transformation in just 40 days. Why 40 days? Jesus fasted 40 days to launch His ministry. After His resurrection, He taught the secrets of the kingdom to His disciples for 40 days before Pentecost. Now it's your turn. Each day of this challenge, you get to inhale revelation in the morning, and then to exhale the transformation in the evening. For 40 straight days, your mind will be renewed, your spirit recharged, and your purpose clarified. You'll learn the principles of kingdom philosophy, psychology, economics, business, and citizenship. This is a 40-day immersive transformation designed to give you clarity and confidence fast. Every day you'll breathe in kingdom concepts through high-impact tutorials, and then you'll breathe it out through reflection, application, and strategic action. 7 lessons a week. 7 weeks of accelerated transformation. You'll go through 40 kingdom-rich sessions covering everything from purpose to positioning, wealth to wisdom, business models to ministry mandates. You'll learn how the kingdom actually works and how to build your life, your message, and your movement on it. And the best part, you're not doing this alone. You'll be part of a purpose-driven ecosystem and community of leaders, coaches, and entrepreneurs who are being trained just like you to bring the kingdom into every sphere of culture. So if you know you're called, if you're tired of confusion, delay, and spiritual stagnation, if you're done trying to fit your calling into broken systems that were never designed for you, then this is your moment. This is your window. This is your 40-day challenge. Click the link to find out more. Hey, I'm Bishop Wayne Malcolm, author, coach, and founder of the Epic Kingdom Network. If you've ever felt like something's missing in what you've been taught about Christianity, you're not wrong. Most of us were taught that heaven and the hereafter are the goal, prize, and sole objective of the faith. But the original message of Christ taught us to engage, to influence, and to transform the world. Believe it or not, Jesus didn't die to get us into heaven. He died to get heaven into us, and then through us into the earth. What if I told you that Christianity was never meant to be a religion, but rather a relationship and a global revolution? A divine intervention, not a man-made institution. The original message and mission of Christ was hijacked, diluted, distorted, and replaced with a religion. My new ebook, Kingdom Theology for Kingdom Citizens, is not just another devotional, it's a call to action. A bold reintroduction to the original message of Christ, a message of dominion, not escapism, of transformation, not tradition. You'll learn what it means to rule and reign with Christ, to steward wealth with purpose, to influence government, education, culture, and business as an ambassador of heaven. This book will shift your lens, stir your spirit, and set you on course with divine clarity. And right now, for a limited time, I'm giving you free access to the digital and audiobook versions. No cost, no catch. Just click the link in the description, grab your copy, and step into clarity. The world is shifting, and so is the role of the modern minister. While tradition struggles to keep pace with culture, many ministries have become irrelevant, invisible, and ineffective. But the call of God on your life remains. It's not less real, it's just waiting for the right strategy. The kingdom doesn't need more sermons, it needs builders, architects, apostolic leaders with systems, prophets with platforms, teachers with tools, pastors with a plan, evangelists with clarity and reach. That's why we created the Kingdom MBA, a high-level ministerial certification and licensing program under a covering with me, the Business Bishop, and the Epic Kingdom Network. This is more than a course, it's a complete solution. It's for those who sense the call but lack a clear path. It's for those already in ministry, but know something must change. It's for those ready to lead, teach, build, and influence with power and precision. Here's what you must believe. You don't need to start from scratch. You need a head start. This program gives you the blueprint, the systems, the support, and the spiritual alignment to fully step into your assignment. If you're ready to stop guessing and start building, apply today. Your calling deserves more than good intentions. It deserves structure, strategy, and spiritual authority. Apply now to become a certified and licensed kingdom leader. This is your moment. This is your movement. This is your Kingdom MBA.
Hey there, entrepreneurs. If you enjoy the teachings of Bishop Wayne Malcolm, I've got something amazing for you. Introducing the New Breed Community, an exclusive online platform for kingdom-conscious entrepreneurs, professionals, investors, and creators. This isn't just a community, it's a movement where we discuss and explore kingdom concepts. Here, kingdom-minded people connect, share, learn, and grow together. Inside, you'll find exclusive content from Bishop Wayne Malcolm, including special sessions just for members. And the best part? It's free to join. The New Breed Community sits on the Heartbeat platform, where Bishop Wayne Malcolm is excited to meet you online. Join us for weekly Q&A sessions with Bishop Wayne and get exclusive insights that can transform your life. Love to read? Join our book club to feed your mind and spirit. Got a prayer request? Post it and let's lift each other up. Have a testimony? Share how God's goodness is shining in your life. We're more than just a community, we're a movement. Discover the powerful relationship between your profession and your purpose. Join us now on the Heartbeat platform. Connect with us and let's grow together. Bishop Wayne Malcolm and the New Breed Community are waiting for you. So what are you waiting for? Hit that join button and step into a world of connection and growth. A warm welcome awaits you. See you on the inside.